I'm going to set up a scenario for you. Say you're a wife, late 20s, maybe mid 30s, newly married, exciting times for you and your husband. And then you find out your husband's cheating on you with a 20-year-old. And he's been doing it for most of your marriage. Kind of depressing if you think about it. Where do you go from there? A lot of women go into a deep depression and never recover. What if I told you you could take that pain, you could take that hurt, you could take that traumatic time in your life and become a best-selling author, become a successful podcast host. You can become an inspiration for millions and millions of women just like yourself all around the world. That kind of sounds like some fairy tale princess movie that we watch every time on our favorite streaming service. But it's not.
Hey, please do not text to me.
Gabrielle Stone did just that. She was just like you. But instead of letting it get the best of her, she decided to do something about it. Let's get started.
The following episode contains subject matter that may not be suitable for all audiences. The stories and quotes you're about to hear are real. Parental discretion is advised.
I'm trying to go out with the Korean style and we about to go win. I bet on myself. Give me a year and I promise that I'll have a story to tell.
Gabrielle Stone is an amazing person. And so when I heard her story, I asked her to share it one more time for those that may not have heard it. Imagine you're this beautiful young wife, newly married, to only find out that your husband is cheating on you with someone much younger. The insecurities that go into your mind, hey, you're not good enough. I've known women who have gone through that very same thing, and they have just never fully recovered. I've known some women that try to lose as much weight as possible to show that they can be just like the woman their husband cheated on with. Gabby, she didn't allow her husband to take control of her life like that. She didn't allow what he did to determine what she would become. She didn't allow the pain, the hurt, the insecurities to overwhelm her life. Instead, she turned it into something amazing. So this is her story. I'm not going to cut it up. I'm going to let her tell it all right here for you.
My name is Gabrielle Stone, and this is the story about how my life exploded in 2017. I was married for almost 2 years and found out my husband was having an affair with a 19-year-old for 6 months. I discovered a second phone and trips they had taken together. The lies and the deceit were so deep, I knew that I would be leaving my marriage. So I filed for divorce and left. Shortly after that, I met a man and we fell madly in love with each other and had this whirlwind romance that went from 0 to 100 very, very quickly. And he convinced me to join him on a month-long trip to Italy with him that he had booked. So we were meeting each other's family and living in this fairy tale romance for a month and a half, and all of his friends and family kept saying, we've never seen him like this, and this is so different for him, and she's the one. And we were planning years in advance in our life and really felt this soul connection with each other. 48 hours before we were getting on the plane to Italy, he told me he needed to go by himself, and I was absolutely devastated. I mean, he broke my heart like my ex-husband never could have done. And in that moment, sitting on my bed with a bottle of wine and many, many tears, I had a decision to make, and that was either stay at home heartbroken or go travel Europe for a month by myself. And staying at home heartbroken was not an option. 2 days later, I boarded a plane with no clue what was in store for me. The only thing I knew about hostels was that there was a movie about them and people get brutally murdered in them. So I did not know what I was getting myself into. I didn't know what countries I would be visiting. And the trip absolutely changed my life. I am a big believer in everything happens for a reason. Sometimes you can't see it when it's happening, but in this instance, I really, really could. Since I was a little girl, my biggest fear has been fear of abandonment and not feeling okay and safe by myself. And that started when I lost my dad at 6 years old. And this was the universe giving me a very clear way to go face that head on and be alone and be okay being alone across the entire world. The trip ended up being exactly what I needed. I did 6 countries over the span of a month. I met the most amazing people. I healed things that I didn't know were broken, and it truly changed my life. On that trip, I wrote in a leather-bound journal, and that ended up turning into a best-selling book called Eat, Pray, FML. I came home from that trip a completely different woman. And looking back on my story, it really is like looking at a blueprint of where my life was supposed to take me. If my ex-husband wouldn't have done something so drastic to make me just say, okay, I'm done, I'm leaving, I probably would have stayed in that marriage far too long trying to make it work because we had made a commitment and this was what we took vows and I chose this. And he really gave me a second chance to go be free. It was a get out of jail free card in many, many ways. I had been unhappy in my marriage for many, many months and I didn't understand why before the news of the affair broke. That obviously led to the man after, and if I wouldn't have had that relationship and had my heart so devastated, I wouldn't have ever been forced to go figure out how the hell to love myself. And that was the biggest gift I have ever been given. To know that kind of heartbreak and to put your pieces back together after that happens is something only a select amount of us humans really truly know. And when you get through it and get to the other side, it's really, really magical what can happen. My book has now spawned a podcast, FML Talk, and a sequel called The Ridiculous Misadventures of a Single Girl. And the breakups and the devastation in my love life have really created an entire career for me. And they've reached women around the world. And I've connected with women around the world that have really healed and had their lives affected and changed from what I went through. And to know that my story and my heartbreak and my grief and what was the hardest year of my life has turned into something that is helping other people heal and giving them a purpose and giving them hope has been the greatest gift of my life. I would go through everything I went through 10 times over to end up exactly where I am now. So for anyone that's watching this, if you are trapped in an unhappy marriage or in an abusive relationship or anywhere where you don't feel you want to be and knowing that your happiness is being compromised, there is another side and you can change your life. You can get out. You can have a do-over. And what is on the other side of choosing you and making that decision and taking that leap is absolutely magical. So no matter what you're going through or what situation you are in right now, I promise you there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it is more beautiful than you could ever imagine. So keep going.
So tired of looking for the
Find her on podcast, find her on Instagram, find her on TikTok. Google her name, Gabrielle Stone. Go buy her book. She's an amazing human being, an amazing person, and an inspiration for millions of women around the world. God is good, y'all. God is good. And he can be good to you too.
If you're looking for encouragement, community, and a voice for your situation, find us on your favorite social media site by searching @the Robbie Harvey.